Hello and welcome to another episode of This Week in Goldmaking, presented by Capital. It is currently February 18th, 2019. I do have to apologize on at least a couple of the videos previously. The date was incorrect. It has now been corrected. The market update for this week is as follows. WoW tokens, both EU and US, at a 0% difference from the previous week. You will notice that the NA token has a red 0% and the EU has a green 0%. It's just because of rounding. We kind of hack off some of the precision at the end just to make things a little bit prettier. But yeah, so slight uptick in EU, slight downtick in NA, but largely it's been pretty flat for the past month or so. The big price movements, the gnarled mood ring down quite a bit on the EU side of things. It's probably about time we added in some more BOEs from the current tier. We'll look at getting those included for the next week. Otherwise, nothing too exciting. Yeah, just pretty even flat across the board. Nothing too crazy to talk about. ATVI sitting at a 0% from the previous week. Obviously, there was quite a bit of hubbub around Activision Blizzard since they released their quarterly earnings last week. I did a video covering them in depth. We went through the entire conference call, did some analysis, updated the model. So if you'd like some more information on that, it is going to be available on YouTube, if not now, very shortly. A couple of bits of news for the week. Number one, another TSM release, 4.7.2, just a small update. Should update automatically if you're using the application. Nothing too crazy in there, just, quality of life updates, fixes to bugs, generally good stuff. So hats off to the TSM team for churning that stuff out. And another thing is actually a correction from last week. I did not realize, or it wasn't public knowledge yet, that the dresses and shirts, which I recommended as possible gold-making opportunities for the Love is in the Air Gold event, are actually bind-on pickup starting this year. So that's kind of gone out the window. Should be noted that anyone from previous years are still able to be traded. Just any new ones you get from the boxes that you open up will not be able to be traded. We're going to do a bit of a more extended Q&A session this week. First question. If I see a couple of BOEs both posted for 50% DB region, is it a good idea to buy both and reset to 100% DB region? Or should I just not touch them and see where the market goes? So there's a lot to unpack on this question, and there's not a simple answer because it really does depend on a lot of context clues. Sort of the quick and easy answer is you just need more experience to know what to do. And that's really, it's always good to have more experience. You're going to make more gold the more you know. But let's just sort of talk through this one so that we can all sort of learn a little bit from it. So obviously, if something's posted at half the price, half the market price, or at least the region market price, which is usually a good thing to go off of for BOEs outside of sort of the far ends, like the super high pops and the super low pops, then yeah, that actually seems like a fantastic opportunity for profit, because that's really the definition of what BOE flipping is. You buy for 50% region and you sell for more than that and make some money. So the problem is having to buy up multiples in order to do this reset. Now, obviously, you're going to need to have the capital in order to do this because, as you know, these BOEs can be fairly expensive in the tens to hundreds of thousands of gold range. So yeah, that's something that's really important to consider. There's an old saying that actually goes back to EVE Online, and it has to do with knowing what your things are worth and what you're willing to lose. In EVE Online, it's very easy to have your spaceship. It's a spaceship MMORPG if you don't know. You can have your spaceship blown up and just lost. You just lose that stuff. So the idea is that you don't ever undock and go out into space in anything that you can't afford to lose, okay? The same kind of principle applies here. In my opinion, it's good to follow, right? You don't want to risk too much, okay? So you can imagine a scenario where, say you have 200,000 gold on a BOE flipping realm, and there's two items that are posted up for 100,000 gold each at 50% DB region. Okay, well, you're spending your entire liquid capital just on these two items. Now, I'm not saying straight up that it's necessarily always a bad idea, but the fact that you're tying up that much of your working capital in one specific, very narrow thing that's a pretty big risk that you're taking. Because what if those items don't sell? What if somebody gets really lucky next week and 3 more flood the market, and they're from people who don't actually care too much about getting maximum value? Okay, well now you're completely screwed because you're at the whims of that. And then there's other things to consider too. Obviously with BOEs, your standard stuff like what type of item is it? What type of stats are on it? Is this in a slot that's desirable? Yeah, you just got to think this kind of stuff through and really kind of make the decision for yourself. By doing so, you can lose out on opportunities if it's sort of a quick, you need to buy it right now, otherwise someone else is going to snatch it up. Yeah, you're running that risk. But I think that in the long term, being more methodical and being very deliberate about your big flipping purchases, especially when it's a significant portion of your overall value, overall liquid capital, that it's worth that time, because without your liquid capital, you're back to square one. And, obviously you can always rebuild, but it sucks when you've put in a lot of effort, built up a lot. So my advice is figure it out. Do this as many times as you can, get more and more experience. The more and more you do it, the better you are going to be at recognizing the situations where this is okay. I have certainly done this where there are a couple of BOEs posted at, under 50%. So you got that nice blue percentage on TSM, and buy them all up and then sell them over time. I've done it where it's been incredibly profitable. I've done it where I'm still holding on to some of those things a tier later where they've dropped significantly in value. So you live and learn, and hopefully you make some money. And okay, it really comes back down, bringing it full circle. You're just minimizing risk. If you can minimize risk to a place where you're comfortable with the level of risk that you've achieved, then pull the trigger. If you're not comfortable with it, after you've analyzed all the risks that you're taking, then don't do it. There'll be other opportunities. It'll be okay. Next question. What do you spend your gold on? I spend my gold on making more gold. And I know that's a bit of a sensational thing to say, but it's true, right? You think about when you purchase raw materials to use in the Bracer Super Shuffle, you're spending gold to eventually make more gold. What about flipping BOEs, like we just talked about? You're spending gold to make more gold. So for me, that's really the main focus, making more gold. Paying for WoW tokens, obviously, that's another big one, because, why not play the game for free? Other than that, that's really the big expenses. Do a little bit of repairs and whatnot for just day-to-day when I'm actually playing the game versus making gold. But yeah, making more gold, that's the big answer. Next question. How do you set/monitor default sale price rates across different baskets of goods? So I'm not entirely sure what the gold maker that asked this question is getting at. So we're going to try and answer it as broadly as possible, and maybe we can get into a bit more of a discussion elsewhere or in the next video. So there's a couple ways to look at it. Default sale price, that could be referring to Trade Skill Master. Default sale price, the actual value that you use for your auctioning operations. It could also just mean, what's the going rates of the item on the market in a more broad sense. So if we pull up the Undermine Journal, obviously the Undermine Journal is a fantastic resource which you can use to kind of, find out all kinds of information about items. It's what I use to create the daily market, or not the daily market, the weekly update. So yeah, this is a great tool you can use to just look at it daily. Obviously, you kind of have to go through and look at things, be reminded either yourself or through some kind of alarm that you might set. If there's something you want to track on a regular basis, you can also look at historical data. Yeah, across regions, across individual servers, etc., etc. Another thing that this might be referring to is if we look at Trade Skill Master, they actually allow you to set price alerts if you're logged in, which I'm currently not. There, I believe it's down here at the bottom. Where'd you guys hide this? All right, so we've logged in, and as you can see, when you log in, you get this nice little interface where you can set up price notifications, right? So if the quantity of the item is, if there is at least one item below 50,000 gold and silver, copper, whatever, then you can send an email notification and save it. And anytime the Sky Golem on Illidan, US, drops below 50,000 gold according to Trade Skill Master's database. You'll get a nice little email. I have one of these set up for Ghost Iron Ore on my kind of main crafting transmog realm because I use a lot of it for Sky Golems, among other things. I drop them below 4 gold, and I get those emails all the time, and I wish I was a little bit better about getting on top of them, but you can use tools like this. You can do above, below, whatever you want for however you might want to apply that information. Other than that, you can just, for example, make a market update spreadsheet of your own and update it on the regular basis. Use items that you are interested in, and you can even do it not at the whole US market or EU market, just do it on your specific server. It's all kinds of things you can do, and it's really up to you what level of automation you want to do. You can even, if you really, really, really wanted to get crazy, you could write your own little program to use Trade Skill Master's API to pull data every day at a certain time and then compare it over time and send your own alerts. Say, hey, the sky's the limit. But that's a few ideas. Hopefully the person that asked this question is able to weigh in a little bit more. I will reach out to you as well individually and see for some more clarification. Just did not have time to do that before the video, and we'll hopefully get some more discussion going on. All right, then last question for the day: how to organize your guild bank faster and more efficiently. Now, some of you may recognize this question from the WoW Economy subreddit, and if I'm not mistaken, the content of the question, the direction the asker was going in, was how to deal with the lag you get from putting things in and out of your guild bank. Unfortunately, there's really not a whole lot you can do about that as far as actually speeding it up. It's just a limitation of the system. My suspicion is that it has to do with the fact that there's multiple different people that could potentially have access to a guild bank at once. So there has to be some locking mechanisms on the server side of things to guarantee that, 2 people aren't trying to grab the same thing out of the guild bank at once. There has to be some sort of a check there. And I'm pretty sure that's what causes it to be slow. Now, how I'm going to actually answer this question is by taking a look at my guild bank and how I organize it. Because I think that there's something to be said for having some kind of an organizational strategy to your guild bank. Yes, TSM gathering does make it so that it just grabs the things that you need for crafting from whatever tab they're in. However, having things well organized can also give you a little bit easier sense of what you have in stock, what you might need to restock on if you're not using TSM's features, TSM's gathering features. So for me, I've got kind of this first tab, which is just sort of random stuff. There's a bunch of left sharks, which was a bit of a meme back when my main character's name was Katy Perry. Some other things like these igneous flamelings, which I tried farming up and have tanked in value since the Fire Festival. Some void shrouded satchels that are still in there. So just random things that sort of don't really have a place otherwise. These are for when I eventually do Shatrath reputation nonsense. That's kind of this whole row. Next, this is sort of the Sky Golem Panther tab, though I unfortunately forgot to bring all my Panther materials with my Panther creator when I moved it off this realm. Then the whole Elementals tab. This is spanning all the expansions, vanilla, BC, etc., 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 for all the different crafting materials needed for, things that are elementally. Then we just kind of got some miscellaneous tabs, sort of more or less grouped into categories: ores, bars, enchanting stuff, miscellaneous generic things like lava cores and sulfuron ingots and swiftness potions, because you get these from PvP now. And they actually are useful for, I believe it's a blacksmithing recipe. More herbs and other miscellaneous things, cloth, leather, gems. Yeah, and so that's how I organize my guild bank. There's probably better ways to do it, but it works great for me. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about regarding an actual thing you can do to make getting things in and out of a guild bank easier is warehousing. So the TSM does have a warehousing module, which I'm sure is little known to most people because it's just really not used by a ton as far as I know. Whenever you see a TSM guide, it's sort of glossed over. And what it does is it just lets you move groups of items back and forth, just like it sounds. It's really simple. There's move to bank, move to bags. You can get really fancy and restock bags based on specifications in the TSM settings. The way I actually use warehousing is more to do with my transmog selling. So sometimes this character who posts all my crafted transmog gets, too much or some stuff that can't be posted on the auction house based on the operations. So in order to free up space in my bags, I just move everything to the bank. And there it goes. It does it automatically for you. Frees up a bunch of space. That way you can go back to the mailbox and grab some more stuff. Now, obviously, I would have run an auctioning scan there first, but that does take a while, and we wanted to get the demonstration. Same thing works with guild banks, too. So that does allow you to sort of circumvent the frustration of having to sit there and wait for the guild bank to update, since TSM will do it for you. So yeah, those are my thoughts on organizing guild banks for being faster and more efficient. And that's going to wrap up the show for this week. I want to thank everyone for listening, for watching, for contributing, and discussing gold making in general. I've been having a lot of fun doing some gold making stuff more recently in game, kind of branching out, learning some new stuff. So hopefully some of that will make it into the weekly video, or maybe some other supplemental videos coming in the future. I'm getting a lot better sense of what my trade skill master guide is going to be when that eventually does come out, because that is something that's sort of on the horizon. But I really want to make sure it's something good, something useful, and something that's true to kind of what I believe in when it comes to doing this TSM stuff. So we'll just wrap it up. If you have any comments, questions on the video, you can leave them in the comment section on YouTube. You can reach out to me on Twitter at darkshorecap, or if you would like a more private conversation, you can always email me. darkshorecapital@gmail.com is my email address. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.